Spirituality is a paradox. Enlightenment, awakening, is a paradox because it's already what is. Awakeness is already awake. Enlightenment is simply truth. And yet, you don't know it yet. And that's why spiritual practice is important or necessary. Another way to say this, not my quote, but awakening or enlightenment are accidents, but there are things that we can do to make us more accident prone. So it's the pathless path because it's here and we gotta get somewhere, quote unquote. So most spiritual practitioners, in my view, don't spend enough time, nearly enough energy on this first part, that awakening is already the case. Truth is already here. Papaji said that the final straw that broke the camel's back, the driving pointer that got him to awaken, was recognizing, because he was after truth. And he said, if it's truth, it's already here. If it's true, it's not somewhere else. If it's true, it's what is. And so let me see what is. Let me stop trying to practice to get somewhere. So I spent a lot of time on this, and it's been the most fruitful thing for me. It just clicked for me. This notion that it's already happening. This huge thing called enlightenment that people meditate for decades to achieve, to get. It's already fully here. That shouldn't be taken lightly. It's almost like a lot of people, it seems like there's a scoffing at that. Like, oh yeah, okay, well that's not even helpful. Like, thanks, you know? A lot of the teachers from the East in the 60s, 70s, when they came over to the West, they were just saying that. And it didn't, people weren't picking it up. And so then all these teachers, a lot of the famous ones, Trungpa Rinpoche, Chogyam, for example, like they created their practices, they created their models, their stages of practice. And then people started having success with them. To me, that's partly just the Western mind, like for me, like in general. But for me personally, it just clicked. This thing they were all saying. They're saying you're not in control. And so that brings us to another point. When we're consuming a lot of these teachings, like what I did was I noticed what everyone, like, I really fucking took seriously. when I really dove in and started changing a lot, that led to my first Kensho, my first glimpse, my first major temporary awakening that changed everything. I hadn't been exposed to so much of these spiritual teachings. I had been exposed to New Age teachings, which, in my opinion, are generally not about actual awakening. This isn't about the soul. This is about greater than that. So when I got exposed to all these teachings, I recognized, let me not let this information just flood over me and numb me. Let me not get desensitized to it in a just dopamine drive. Let me not consume book after book. So when absolute statements were made, and it was in line with what other teachers were saying, I could just tell, oh, okay, I can tell these are almost certainly genuine, or at least I'll put all my money on this thing being real. And so then I listened very carefully, and I heard things that were fucking crazy, like, you're not in control. There is no doer. You have no control. There's no one home. You do not exist. It's already here, right now. The one who sees is being seen. The thinker is a thought. These completely profound statements. When we hear them, it's like we gotta think, whoa, if I actually knew for myself that I didn't exist, that would change literally everything. Or if I'm the seer, I'm the watcher, and I'm being watched, what the fuck? That's life-changing. What am I being watched by? And some human saying that, meaning he could or she could access that. That means I can access that. But I appear to have no access to that. And yet, it's happening. So I recognize that all these teachings were not saying that you could develop this. They were saying this is how reality is and always has been. And it's being overlooked. In this moment, that is what's happening. And that just blew my mind. It got me on the trail. It's inspiring and relaxing because in a way, all I got to do is chill out, like really chill out. My seeking and chasing something is the opposite direction. And that's convenient because I don't like unnecessary work. So this paradox is alive for the spiritual seeker, the spiritually interested person. It's here, but you don't see it. And you got to do things to see it. And that's so tricky because you or the ego will get caught in the ego can only choose one side of a duality at one time. The immature ego is completely incapable of handling paradox, and the mature ego is much more ripe for awakening. But this limitation of the person to only understand one end of a paradox at a time, and one end of a duality, to only occupy one place at a time, is what completely prevents clear seeing, because that's a quality of the mind. The mind can't hold paradox. A very mature mind starts to get better, but it can't actually hold it. It can never quite hold that. It only our attention can do that, which is deeper than and beyond the mind. So spend some time and really, whatever needs to be done to, like, walk around, contemplate this, let it soak in. Like, this is for real. It's already here, not in an abstract way. What would have to be true about your experience? What would you have to be doing to be obscuring that? Some hints are, what layers of interpretation do you have on your experience? What assumptions are you making about your experience? For example, one that I picked up easily, and the different interpretations or layers of assumption will be easier or harder to remove for this person versus that person. We're all built differently. For me, this being a physical world where I'm assuming Africa is somewhere on the horizon really far. I'm assuming there's other continents. I'm assuming there's space. I'm assuming there's a universe and I'm in it. That one was easy to realize I was doing and to remove that. I would say, like, a form of awakening or a path to awakening involves removing every assumption, every interpretation. And I don't mean like projections on people. Like, I mean that helps, but that's more work with the psyche. I don't know. I'm looking at the deep, deep, deep ones. So, really, this, in my visual field of my senses, this is all that's actually happening to me, or to this awareness. So I was willing to experience like that. And it changes things. I interact with the world differently. My eyes focus differently. It's different. It makes everything much more immediate and simple. And closely related to that is that I'm not, like, inside this body. That's an assumption too. Because, like, just as a matter of experience, to be totally truthful, I am whatever I am experiencing this body and the senses. Like, this reality bubble includes the body. So that's more of a trippy one, and that's a really fruitful one. That's like, in that I recognized, okay, there's a body here, and then, oh, there's a mind here, and oh, there's emotions here. Oh, and I don't have as much control over them as I thought. And there's just this, and oh my God, there's nothing else happening. There's all these other bodies, but I have no, like, there's no consciousness there behind them. I'm just experiencing this, and that's what I know. That's what I know is real. real, quote unquote. And then this this was this was deeper, but I'm laying an I on top of every experience. I'm saying I this, I that. But when I'm experiencing this body and this mind and emotions and all this, it's less of a, like, I'm not a person anymore. I'm like just invisible with a pair of eyes. Metaphorical eyes. I'm really just invisible, experiencing all this. And I don't know what I am, and I don't know what any of this is. It's like just being born. Seeing everything with fresh eyes. And this allows us to be more open when I'm pursuing something, whether it's spiritual or otherwise. I'm often, I contract to pursue it. But if I'm seeing that it's already here, what am I not seeing? What is in the way? It's more of a feminine posture. I'm opening and receiving because it's already here. There's nothing to do. In fact, I'm doing a lot of things that are obscuring it. And so it's opening, allowing, radically allowing, being radically honest with my experience. And we can feel an opening in the body. So it's good to really, really emphasize this aspect that it's not a path. It's not a thing to pursue. It doesn't require discipline or practice. And yet, pragmatically speaking, it will. Yes, it will. There are stories of people spontaneously awakening, and that's not you. Like people who are just really depressed and had never heard of spirituality and did it. But you've already heard of spirituality. Boom. That's probably not you. But that doesn't mean you're a person who lives in a monastery for 40 years to get it. Don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, if you're destined to do that, you'll do it. I'm not going to be able to stop you by saying that, but I feel confident in saying don't do that. That sounds like an addiction to me. An addiction to never finding, an addiction to always being a failure, never getting it. Unless you like it. Don't do it and struggle though. Don't be in a monastery for decades struggling. So, in summary, more emphasis on really seeing okay, the truth is here and it's self-evident. It's obvious, actually. It's obvious. It's obvious. So it must be me fucking it up. I must be fucking up the seeing somehow because it's obvious it's happening. How am I imposing certain things on this, on reality, on experience? What am I putting here that doesn't need to be here? We talked about assumptions about there being a world beyond my awareness. We talked about the assumption that I'm inside my head, when factually, just experientially, it's true that I'm experiencing my head and my body. It's apparent. We talked about I'm assuming like an I, when really this could all be happening. And that sense of that I exist can just be one of the happenings. It's like you watch a TV show and there's characters there. Homer Simpson doesn't exist. It's just a TV showing it. Same thing. Me, I'm just part of the reality program going on. That could be the truth. Why are you not seeing it? What are you doing in each moment to not see it? And yeah, like in that opening, radically allowing for what's here, including all the feelings. It's not just a head game. Radically allowing what's here, what is. Radically experiencing without dividing, labeling, assuming. And that's closer to what is. Whatever that is, that what is, whatever the truth is, when we take away these impositions on reality, what we're doing to our experience, we have a chance of getting closer to that. We have a chance of getting closer to that.